Welcome into UGA Football Live with JC Shelton, where the dogs come to talk. Welcome in, everyone. Another episode of UGA Football Live with JC Shelton. We got a special guest, friend of the show, Aaron Murray. You know him, you love him. Aaron's doing a lot of good work with the Players Lounge. You got to check them out, and I'm actually doing some stuff with them as well. So it's been really fun. We got a lot of good content, guys. It's exclusive stuff, and you really don't find it anywhere else, in my mind. Aaron, tell them where you can find them. We know we got a lot of good stuff coming up. We were just talking about.
Yeah, a lot of good stuff this summer. A lot of stuff with the players, player shows. Warren Brinson, he's got a show right now. Mackay is about to start his show this weekend. Going to start doing a freshman series with all the incoming freshmen right now to kind of get to know them, their story, and kind of give them the floor to kind of to share it. So really excited to get to know them a little bit better. Going to start shooting some stuff. I don't know when this show is releasing, but on Thursday, the 1st, I'll begin to meet some of these new freshmen, which will be fun. So yeah, a lot of big stuff throughout the summer. So make sure you go find us at the Players Lounge. Go subscribe to our website at theplayerslounge.io. Create a login. Got a lot of cool stuff coming out this summer. Very interactive. Great way to, like I said, get to know the players on a deeper level.
Yeah, that's the cool part about NIL and stuff like this, and the access to the players you get is getting a chance to see what their process is like, especially like you said, these freshmen coming in. Really interesting. We did get a lot of that in the past for college football, and now we have that access, and especially during the summer, not a lot going on. Of course, fall is a different animal, but right now I think it's a good time to kind of deep dive into that content stuff if you're a Georgia fan for sure. Let's run into this. I want to talk a little Dylan Raiola. Number one quarterback in the 24 class, 5-star, number one prospect in the country as well. And Georgia lands him. And the history with Georgia landing quarterbacks, especially when they, under Kirby Smart, hasn't been there the way it has developed into. You have Carson Beck, he was a highly touted guy. You have Brock Vandagriff, he was a 5-star, right? Gunnar Stockton, another high caliber 4-star there. But getting a guy like Dylan Raiola, what does that say in your mind to how quarterbacks are looking at Georgia now, as they were, maybe differently than they were in the past?
Yeah, I mean, listen, it's a great spot to be. I mean, the offense is, up to date with kind of the new stuff. I mean, what Todd Monken was doing and kind of what Bobo is going to do as well is it's a great offense to be a quarterback. It uses weapons in a variety of ways. It's very much pro style. It's not gimmicky. So a coach and Bobo and what Monken was able to sell to these guys is, hey, you come to Georgia, you're going to be running the same scheme that you're going to be running in the NFL if you do make it to that level. So I think that's the first thing. And that's one of the things that I liked about Georgia when I was coming out was, it was between Georgia and Florida. Florida ran very much a spread RPO zone read type offense, which was, more of a college type offense back then. Obviously, we've seen that bleed over to the NFL, and Georgia was much more pro style. And one of the selling points of which I liked was, hey, this is an offense that will help prepare you for the next level. So you look at Georgia, the way they use receivers, the tight ends, the running backs, a mixture of, being under center, being in the gun, really helps set these guys up for the next level. So I think that helps. Obviously, the having success with Stetson Bennett, a former walk-on, a guy that's undersized, a guy that was drafted, helps. You see the talent at the receiving position, which they've been able to help bring in over the past year. The tight end spot, the running backs, the offensive line. So like you've checked off every single box to help go recruit this kid. So and now you got the championships as well. You got the facility. So I think everything's there to get a top tier quarterback. So I'm really not surprised at all that Georgia was able to land a top guy.
And your experience with Mike Bobo is an interesting part of this to me as well. What stood out to me is, Georgia goes through that. You already mentioned Todd Monken going, to the NFL, goes through that coaching change that in any other program would be a huge change, right? I mean, you have a guy coming in after offensive coordinator, and Todd Monken's been there for 3 years, and you're still able to land a caliber like Dylan Raiola. I think that speaks to Mike Bobo in my mind. What stands out in your mind with how Mike Bobo might have recruited him to come here, even though he's a guy stepping into that new role, even though we know he has that experience in being in Athens and before? But
well, I mean, look at Bobo's track record too, from what he did with Greeny and Chalk and Stafford, and we know the connection with Stafford and Rayola's family. So I think that played a part in it as well. And Bobo's offense is historically, especially during his time at Georgia, I feel like I've had to defend him a lot to fans, was one of the best offenses in the SEC. So that threw the ball. We weren't just running the football. I mean, we were pushing the ball vertically down the field. The yards per play, yards per attempt were always up there as one of the top teams in the SEC. So I think he had a lot to sell. And do think the selling point of, hey, this offense isn't changing. Like, I came to Georgia a year ago. I digested the playbook. I saw how Todd Monken ran the offense. Yes, maybe there's a little bit of a twist here or there, and maybe I'll kind of make it my own, but the core of this offense is going to remain the same. And like I just, said earlier, that offense is very enticing. So, he's got the track record of developing quarterbacks. He's got the track record of great offensive play. And now he's got the, hey, I'm going to be running a similar offense that just scored, high 30 points per game, one of the best offenses in the country. That's going to be our system. So I think it's an easy sell for Mike Bobo.
Yeah, and a lot of weapons returning. Offensive line has just been a unit under Kirby Smart consistently, and that's a big thing in my mind, especially for quarterback. And then the way that Georgia uses their tight ends, the recruits they're getting in that aspect, and then the defense that Kirby Smart brings that Mike Bobo is going to get to play with, right,
Yep.
and have that support from one of the best defensive in college football on a year-to-year basis. Very enticing as well. I bet for Raiola. And he's, of course, Matthew Stafford is his godfather, oddly enough. And I think another aspect of Rayola's commitment that was really newsworthy was Ryan Puglisi. So he is a four-star, I think number 12 ranked quarterback by 24/7 Sports. And he reaffirmed his commitment after Raiola announced his decision. Interesting to me. We know how quarterbacks are kind of if the transfer portal is enticing for a lot of these guys. I mean, if you're coming in recruits, maybe you flip to another program when a guy like Raiola is coming in. You went through a battle in your time at Georgia as well. What goes into this, you think, for Puglisi, and why is he so keen on Georgia, even though a guy like Raiola, he's going to have to battle him out for a starting role if he wants to contribute?
Well, he's at the battle out, not only him, but guys currently on the roster too. You talked about, the top tier talent that they've been able to bring in at the quarterback spot. So I'm a little bit shocked. For me, I knew that, Bobo was very upfront. Bobo told me, hey, we're taking two quarterbacks. We're going to take two guys. And Met committed early. I was actually thought Tom Savage would commit to Georgia. So I kind of, I was like, oh my God. So Tom and I would always talk back and forth. And, I was like, Tom, I think I'm going to commit to Georgia. Just stay away. And Tom's like, don't worry. It's yours if you want it. So, you're never concerned with guys in your class or older. You're always concerned with what's coming in behind you, obviously, because if you lose a spot out to a guy behind you or a guy in your class, you're out. But you have to have confidence in yourself. And I was confident that I could beat Zach out. I'm sure Zach was very confident that he could beat me out. And then, the mindset was, I remember even during that spring when we were going back and forth, was, hey man, if I don't win this, then I'll transfer. But I'm confident in myself that I'm going to at least give it a go, see what I can do. And you allude to it's a lot easier to transfer now than it was when I played. If Met was going to be the starting quarterback and I was going to have to transfer, I would have to sit out a year. If this kid comes in there and say doesn't win the job, maybe you waste a year, which is unfortunate. Probably going to redshirt, so that doesn't really matter. You transfer somewhere else and you still get 3 or 4 years to go play. So you're really not losing a lot. If you love Georgia, you love the offense. If you love what's being set up, what we just described, you feel confident that you can win the job. Go give it a go. You don't win, you get a free pass. So it's a lot easier for these guys to be a little bit riskier on the front end, and then knowing that you get that one free pass to transfer somewhere else.
Yeah, that's a good point. I really like that. I actually read something from a coach who hosted workouts with both Caleb Williams from USC and Puglisi, and said there wasn't much of a drop off there as far as arm talent. Good news to us. I mean, I really like that. I mean, he says quick delivery. His footwork is really good. Arm strength is there as well. So excited to watch these guys, especially you said that, Georgia, especially like Brock Vandegrift and his development as a dual threat guy. I would love to see that in the future, right? Because I think that's what made Stetson Bennett so powerful in that offense with his legs, right? You might lose a little bit of that with Carson Beck. He can still move though. But I think Brock has that running mentality. If he can just get better as a passer. Let's move on a little bit and talk SEC scheduling. So I think I saw you post something about this yesterday. SEC spring meetings this week, and then I think July's SEC media days. We'll hear more about this, I'm sure, then as well. But obviously, Texas and Oklahoma coming in 24. It's going to shake up scheduling. We're going to have to do something different. There's a 8-game proposal. There's a 9-game proposal. I like the 9 games just because you get the 3 permanent opponents, right? I really want the rivalries, and I think Kirby Smart said that as well yesterday. He was talking about how he really values the tradition of the rivalries. And I think fans do as well. I mean, like Georgia Auburn, Deep South, oldest rivalry. You want games like that. What's your thoughts on this? What would you like to see?
9 games. Give me 10 games. I mean, more SEC games, the better, man. As a player, as a fan, you want to play the best. I mean, that's why you came to this conference. I mean, I didn't come to Georgia to play some group of 5 team. I came to Georgia to play against the Tennessees and the Alabamas and the LSUs of the world. Like that's what gets me juice as a competitor. So, they aren't looking for the easiest path. They're looking to go out there and compete and have some fun. So give me 9 games. I think it's better for the conference. I think it's better for the players. I think it's better, obviously, for the fans. I think we're going to get there. I don't know if it's going to be 2024 or 2025 when this happens. But I think especially for the rivalries, like A&M and Texas needs to happen. Like that is a rivalry game that needs to happen. That would be a shame for the state of Texas not to have that game every single year. Georgia Auburn, like they're just Alabama LSU, like what that game has become. And what that game will continue to be because of Brian Kelly now in Baton Rouge. So for a million reasons, there needs to be 9 SEC games. I get some teams worried about making a bowl game. Some of the teams are kind of fighting there every single year, but I would say for the majority of the SEC, because of the expanded playoffs, I mean, I did the numbers. Like you're still going to get 3 or 4 SEC teams in the playoffs every year. It's going to happen. So let's not be afraid to really push it and put a better product on the field and on TV for the fans.
Yeah, you said it right there, TV, and that's something I read from an athletic director in the SEC yesterday. Was talking about the money standpoint. We know that's a huge thing, right? And it goes probably far beyond we even think in these meetings with the decision makers. But they basically said, they're paid for a certain amount of games by TV networks right now, right? So if they go up a game, they're not necessarily going to be paid for that extra game. So I bet that's a big part playing into it. I hate to see it.
They're probably negotiating it right now. I think they're they want ESPN to come back to the table. So I think ESPN will. You'd hope they would. But it's, man, in this world nowadays, it's all about the dollars and cents, and they got to make a deal. But if they can squeeze a little bit more juice out of it, they're going to try.
Yeah. And I know that, as far as the SEC goes, the fans, like you said, they like 10 games. Give me 10 games. I mean, they want to see everything. I'd rather play, Texas A&M than Ball State. That's for sure. Like this year, Georgia's schedule, missing that game from Ohio State this year. Or what was it? Ohio State was Oklahoma.
Oklahoma.
Yeah, Oklahoma. Man, that would have been fun. That would have been really fun to see. So we're kind of missing out on there, but hopefully in the future, and I do like Texas and Oklahoma joining. More competition. I know it's going to take some getting used to for sure, but I think that's just his marquee programs, and you get better games on a week-to-week basis. And you said Alabama LSU, that's a night game this year, and Alabama is set up to be one of the most the marquee games of the year already. So it's going to be really, really fun to watch. Quick thoughts. Let's get a final thought here. What do we want to do? We want to do Georgia. Do we want to do Georgia's schedule prediction already?
It's I'll tell you prediction 12-0. I mean, it is. I know they came out. You talk about scheduling. They came out with the South Carolina game as the 3:30 spot on CBS. Obviously, making that like the primetime game for CBS.
Yeah.
It'll be an interesting one. We'll see what Spencer Rattler can do. See if he gets some juice in him, especially the way they ended the season last year.
Yeah.
Just don't see the depth there as Georgia has. I think that'll be an issue. I mean, all eyes are on Tennessee. That's it. Yeah. I mean, I do think Joe Milton will be pretty damn good.
You think he's going to live up to the hype? I feel like that
I think
preseason hype's. Woo,
I think he will. I think it's high. I think it's there. Watched him, covered him a couple times last year. Talked to people in there. Talked with Hendon. Man, he's gifted and he's matured as a quarterback. So I think he can have a really, really good year. And it's tough to play Neyland. So it's for George, obviously, you can't fall asleep at any point this year. I don't think they will. They got to stay healthy. That's always the big thing too. But they got the depth if they do get banged up a little bit. But man, it just it aligns very very nicely for a three-peat.
It does. And I sound so biased saying that sometimes. I like, why am I really looking at this right? But I don't think you can't. I mean, to be honest. And last thing I'll leave you with, quick thoughts. As far as how Georgia's schedule is shaping up with the level of competition right now, like we don't know how Tennessee's going to look. We don't know how Ole Miss is going to look just yet. As far as them not having a big game to really prep themselves to play in a high pressure environment, as far as Georgia's concerned, and maybe have a close game here to really learn how to play together when needed and in a pressure situation. It's kind of what we had last year at times. I think it only helps you in the postseason. Do you think that that's kind of a negative when you look at the schedule and it not being really tough?
No, I mean Kirby says all the time, man. What they go through Monday through Friday is harder than what they face on Saturday. So like Kirby finds a way to put them in pressure situations. You would love to see it every now and then. I guarantee, and like listen, I guarantee you at some point this season they're going to have a close game just like they did last year with say Missouri. I mean, who would have thought Missouri would have had an opportunity to beat Georgia in the fourth quarter?
Yeah.
It happened. Georgia found a way to win. So you want them to blow every team out and win by 3 touchdowns, but there's going to be an off night. There's going to be a game where just Georgia doesn't have its A plus. The team they're facing has their A plus game, and it turns out to be a 4-quarter battle. Like that will happen, maybe once, but I think at least one time you'll have a game where it's butts get a little bit tight. You kind of see what Georgia's really made out of in the fourth quarter, and hopefully they use that to learn from and get ready for maybe a close game in a playoff game.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking for. We'll let you out of here, Aaron. We appreciate your time, man. We know you're at your Players Lounge. You have a radio show as well. Let them know where you're at.
Yeah, stay busy. Got a daily show on the volume. So go check us out there. It's called Snaps with me and a guy named T. Bob Abear, former LSU center.
Yes,
So we
sir.
do daily college football show, which is a lot of fun. Sirius XM show and the Players Lounge. So and just re-signed with ESPN. So we're doing a full slate of games in the fall.
Love it, man. Congratulations on that. And we appreciate you taking time. Go Dogs as always.
Go Dogs.